What is going on, you guys, ladies and gentlemen? Blaise here, Blue Chip Athletic Club today. Going to be coming to you with a solo episode, talking to you about all things frequency and the amount of times or days per week that you should be training. Some tips and tricks that I've kind of learned over the years that have been super helpful for myself as well as other clients that we've worked with intimately. And we'll talk about kind of all things in that regime. So before I kind of kick things off, I want to give a quick story. Or let me do this. Sponsors that we work with here, First Form, thank you guys for all that you do. Check out, those are the supplements that we use pretty much every single day. I never miss the chocolate greens. I mix them in the coffee. They've got a French vanilla collagen powder that I also add in there. I've cut out any coffee creamer that is super processed. These are all natural ingredients for the greens, and I'll call French vanilla creamer. They've got a French vanilla collagen powder. They've got a caramel like flavor as well. Definitely partial to the French vanilla. And what I'm getting out of that is 15 grams of protein and all my pre-probiotics, servings of fruit and veggies right at the beginning of the day before I even start. So super good stuff there. Our partners over at Log10, the best online pilot logbook on the face of planet Earth. It's awesome, you guys. We're giving out 3 free months. Just look in the show notes here. I believe the code is going to be Blue Chip, and then the link is going to be down there in the show notes with the code. That code is obviously escaping me. And then we work with Sweet Perfections protein cookies. Shout out to Hannah. You guys rule, making the best protein cookies. You can add them in Ninja Creamies, eat them by themselves. Again, super, super macro friendly for those of you guys that are interested in keeping track of those, which, I mean, you're listening to a health and wellness podcast, you probably are. And then anyone else that I missed and may have missed, I'm going to leave kind of in the show notes here. And then we'll get this thing rolling. Why am I talking about frequency of health and wellness training and what people need? So I got in a conversation today at work, and then felt kind of compelled to come on and chat about it with a fellow Coast Guard guy who came by, and he was like, "Hey man, I got this new crazy schedule. I'm waking up, I'm doing half hour of fasted cardio on my Peloton. I'm gonna go drop my kids off at daycare." Meanwhile, let me rewind. I guess his wife is about to go on an 8-month deployment with the Air Force overseas. He's got 2 kids, 3 years old and 1 year old. And he was telling me about how he is going to tackle that challenge as essentially a single parent for 8 months, while he also has a full-time job working as a maintainer in the Coast Guard. So I'm chatting with him, and he starts going, he's like, "Oh yeah, it's going to be great. I'm going to wake up at 5 o'clock. I'm going to do half hour of fasted cardio. I'll get the kids up. I'll take them to daycare, drop them off, and then I'll get off work 2, 3 o'clock. I'm going to go to the gym for 2 hours, and then I'm going to go grab the kids and go home, and then we'll hang out and spend time with them." And I'm like, dude, wow, that's one. I listen to that, and I'm thinking to myself, this dude's spending a lot of time in the gym, which is, one I'll say is what I used to do a lot, especially when I was what I'll call strongest, but also in my most unhappy, the least fit that I've ever kind of felt as well. I was spending about that much time in the gym, not with that kind of strict regimen. But I start kind of digging in. I'm not somebody who is pitching advice for people, especially in the health and wellness space, unless they, start to ask questions or ask for it. So I kind of told him at a certain point, I was like, "Hey, I don't want to sit here and tell you what to do or how to live." But I started essentially asking "Oh, why are you trying to, do fasted cardio in the morning and then go lift for 2 hours and whatever while you're in this very dynamic time with your partner being gone for, that 8-month span?" I mean, that's a long, long time to be doing it. And the guy had previously competed in, an entry amateur level bodybuilding show, relatively familiar with health and wellness principles. I started talking to him about it. He's like, yeah, I just really want to like lose some weight and, look a little bit better and move a little bit better. And I'm like starting to, really dig in and determine the why, but behind all of that. And I'm thinking to myself, like, hey, if I, had a 3-year-old and 1-year-old, maybe I'm sleeping only a little bit. What are these other things that we're doing to promote, fitness gains if we're going to train for that long, as well as a well-rounded day? Because, even if he does do that to a T every single day, 2.5 hours of your 24-hour day, most of your time is going to be spent outside the gym. So what are you doing in those time blocks? And he's like, yeah, I really think that like my biggest issue is drinking. And I'm like, oh, so like what's your frequency with that? How often are you having drinks? Goes on to say like, hey, I would say like nightly, I'm having like essentially like 2 shots. He pours it over some ice and sits there after he puts his kids down to bed. 2 drinks every single night. Call it 14 a week. Typically, and I'm sure that the masses can attest. Usually, when you say you're having 2 drinks, if it's self pour and it's if you have a heavy hand, whether it's with a wine bottle, whether it's with a carafe of chosen liquor, typically the pour ends up being a little bit heavier. What does that do? And I'm like asking him about like, oh, like, what does that do for your recovery? He's like, oh, I'm using it to kind of help me sleep. We go down this huge long rabbit hole, and at the end of the conversation, I just offered him an opportunity to come train with us in a small group training setting, which we are doing. I should actually have started that with the promotion stuff. What do we do here at Blue Chip? For those of you that are new to listening to the show, we do online coaching through a customized app for you one-on-one, where we do your training programming. All your nutrition coaching is going to be delivered from me via one-on-one calls, whether they're phone calls, text messages, video calls. We kind of work that out between us. We've got an app as well that delivers a ton of on-demand workouts, training sessions, you name it, we've got it. And then we just started in the Tampa area doing small group trainings. These are kind of invite only for now, but we do have an application on the website. If you are interested in getting in on that, you can apply for sure. But I essentially at the end of the call, end of the conversation, invited the guy to come out to a workout session at some point. And we then finally get to the root of everything, which is like, hey, I'm a little bit too proud to ask anybody for help if I'm going down this path. And I think it's a funny anecdote, where men in the ages, I'll call it 30 to 40, know just enough to be dangerous. A lot of people with an athletic background, but don't know enough to really get themselves the help or identify the need for help that they truly, require. And it's funny, I'll equate it to my own journey is, think about like, I started playing golf, and instead of investing in golf lessons, I just bought new golf clubs, because obviously it has to be the clubs and not my dog shit swing or the desire to actually improve. And I just go out and was playing and getting frustrated, and I go from one set to another set, and then I'm just like, what is going on? One day you're hitting them really well, one day you're not. And it's just funny, like I feel the parallel with health is the same. Like we go fad diet or program this, or I need to get this to shred or whatever the thing is, or I need to swing the other way and be like, oh, I need to spend 2.5 hours in the gym, vice being somewhat consistent with the way I'm eating, sleeping, and training over the course of time, and then finding your kind of frequency to be able to get there. So this all brings me to the topic that I wanted to hit on today in this short solo episode that I got to crank out here before Chelsea gets home and before we actually go get my father-in-law from the airport. And that is, training frequency. How often should you train? What is a good clip for that? And a lot of this will come down, one, to what what you're comfortable with, and the starting point that you're at. So, we've got a couple of programs that we utilize with people that are super new. Let's say you're new to running. We've got a program called Couch to 5K, what it does is it literally takes you from somebody who has never gone on a run outside. And then we're going to take you through from your couch on day 1 to day, I believe it's a 28-day program. Day 28, you're going to be running a 5K. And we slow roll you into it. We do a whole system based on the way that you breathe and timed workouts so that you know exactly how much you're getting into. And what we're doing is we're essentially building you up for that point to where you ever do your 5K run. Now, if you're training Kipchoge, the couch to 5K program is probably not the right solution, so you got to meet the person where they're at. But for most people, the vast majority of adults in the world, you can get away with 3 workouts, 30 minutes of crack, 3 times a week, and do that for all 52 weeks out of the year. And then if you're walking, eating whole foods, limiting your drugs and alcohol use, you'll honestly be okay. Like, the reality is that those are the things that really end up getting people, having a sedentary job, sitting all day, punting all of your training just because you're on vacation, the lack of motivation that comes and goes, like all those things essentially will factor into this plan. And typically the people that I'm talking to about, the maintainer who I was speaking with before, he's like, hey, I fell off the rails and I'm in this position. It's like, well, how long does it take for you to gain 1 pound, gain 2 pounds, gain 3 pounds? It's like, for the most part, those people have been putting on a couple pounds a year and not really noticing much change, month to month. But at the end of 2-3 years, you're now carrying 10, 15, maybe even 20 extra pounds. It hurts to get on and off the ground. Maybe your strength is gone. Maybe you're losing some of that confidence when you take your shirt off at the pool, whatever that thing kind of becomes. So really thinking about like, hey, 3 times a week, 30 minutes of crack, total body. You can even adjust. You can go upper push, lower pull. And if you don't know what these means, pushing movement patterns, i.e. like horizontal push up, you can do, bench press, push up. You can do vertical press, like a shoulder press. And typically I like to pair pushing patterns with a pulling pattern for the lower body. So if you're doing an upper body push, you'll do lower body pull. So that's going to be, heavy compound movements that you could do if you're comfortable with those would be deadlifting, RDLs, hamstring walkouts, those types of things that are really going to engage the lower body. And then you can do either the second workout of the week can be a total body one. Third day could then be an upper pull, i.e. pull-ups, rows of some kind, simple things like that. And then a lower push, which is going to be squatting, jumping. You can do plyometrics, leg pressing if you're super into kind of the OG, like bro style lifting, and you don't have the free weights. So that's typically how I would manufacture my week. If this is the training protocol that I'm going with, 3 times a day or 3 times a week, 30 minutes of crap, and making it happen. And then the other days, what soft tissue work can you do? Mobility. Can you walk? Can you ruck? Walk your dog, get some steps in, move. Maybe while you're sitting there at work, you're like, oh, I'm just going to set my clock. I'm going to move every hour. I'm going to do 10 squats. What does that look like for you? You can obviously fabricate the day to be whatever you want it to be. But I would encourage you that the all or nothing mentality is something that's really, really going to hinder you from being able to make the lifelong change and have the lifelong result that you want. Now, I'm going to butcher this number, and I'm going to go and grab it real fast. Let me see if I can find it here. Let me see. So the number of people, I Googled the percentage of people that can do 1 body weight pull-up. Now, obviously, the studies are going to vary. Other things are going to be, different, or it's going to depend on the research that you kind of get. But the reality is the number is asinine. It's like upwards of 90 some odd % of people cannot do a single body weight pull up. So if you're listening to this and you're somebody who's like, oh dude, I can do 1 body weight pull up. That means that you are in the upper tier. You're in the upper echelon. I think, here we go. One estimate says about 20% of people can do a body weight pull up. 20% of the however many 8 billion people in the world, 20% of those people can do a body weight pull up. let me do the math for you real quick while I'm here. So 8 billion, I got to get my zeros right, 800,000. There you go, 8 billion times 20%. So 1.6 billion people of those 8 billion people can do a bodyweight pull-up, which is crazy. So if you are in that tier, you're part of what I'll call the elite for the world at this point. Top 20% of people, I'd say, is pretty good company. And if you're somebody who wants to become that, you can always scale your movement patterns to get there. So think about that, what that's going to take to actually drive success. Now, the other part of it that I think is really important to address is we talked a little bit about the drinking habit. The initial reason that, and going back to the story, the initial reason that this guy is saying that he typically liked to have a couple of drinks was, one, because it was a bit habitual, a little bit of routine, and two, because it helped him fall asleep. So, I can understand and appreciate a routine. People in general, kids, I mean, think about any kids out there, like bath time routine is a thing, bedtime routine, school routine, you name it. Like, people are no different when they become adults. They really, really thrive on routine. That's kind of like the system for success. And he's like, oh yeah, it's just part of my routine at this point. And oh, by the way, it helps me fall asleep. And I was like, oh, and he's got like a fitness tracker on. I'm like, hey, like, what does your sleep fitness tracker say? And he's like, well, it says I sleep like shit. And it's like, well, does the drink actually help improve your sleep duration, quality? As a sleep stress and recovery coach myself, like, understanding, hey, that it might be placebo to a degree that's telling you like, hey, this is actually helping, whether it's not. Again, not my place to say. I wasn't fishing or trying to provide advice that wasn't prompted and or requested. But in digging down in that, we got to the point where it's like, okay, we're having 2 drinks a night. And he's like, yeah, I just should stop drinking completely. I'm like, well, think about it this way. If you're built this routine, this habit where you're drinking 14 drinks in a day or in a week, you know what, why not just start with doing 12 a week? So taking one night a week off of having the drinks, or maybe have 1 instead of 2, and then you're halving your intake. Slowly but surely, you can start to make those incremental shifts, and then maybe you're down to like 1 night a week, and it's like a bonding time with your partner, or whatever the thing becomes. Because the reality is, if you're somebody who's so scripted and regimented in your lifestyle and your health and wellness and your training, that you can't have a drink with a spouse, or you can't do those things. Obviously, this is excluding the people that have an alcohol addiction. But if you're so regimented and you can't have any of those things, or you're kind of like off the rails, whatever your kind of situation dictates, think about like you have that as a reward, as a way that you can continue to live life, vice a something where you're going to beat yourself up about it. You're going to continue to go down the path where you're thinking that it's got one effect and it actually has something completely opposite of that. Think about the research that goes into those things and just providing some of that background information. So what I ended up leaving that discussion with was like, hey man, like, men from the ages of 30 to 40 struggle to 1, admit if they're going down the wrong path, 2, ask for help, and 3, know truly where to go or have the humility to do so. And I want to lead off with, like, we get paid money to coach people in health and wellness, nutrition coaching, training, the whole gambit. And I have coaches that help me with those things as well. I have business coaches that help us improve in business. Michael Jordan, who you could argue is potentially the best basketball player to ever live. I know some people will be like, oh, it's LeBron or Kobe or whatever you want. But, let's say and agree that Michael Jordan is the best basketball player ever. He still had a head coach that helped build him up. So did LeBron. So did Kobe. So did every single Olympian that you've ever seen podium. They all have people that are helping them, helping push them, helping motivate them, helping keeping them honest with their results, helping keeping them realistic with where they're headed. And I just think it's just so critical to understand, going at it alone, without a community, without a group, without somebody to help guide you and push you is the wrong way to go about it. You end up stagnating, or you're wishy-washy, and it sounds woo-woo and ridiculous, but at the end of the day, the biggest thing is the community. The biggest thing is the fact that you have other people there to build you up. I think, real life community is great, whether you can do it in person, train with other people, whether you're doing it online in a community like ours. I'm not going to sit here and tell you our community and our programming is the best along the face of the earth for your specific situation. Obviously, I think it's going to be the best because I wrote it and built it from the ground up. But the reality is, there's a lot of ways that you can get your 30 minutes 3 times a week movement patterns in to be able to live the happiest and healthiest life that you can. You just got to find something that you can do forever, because that's the worst part about health and wellness, I think, is it can't be bought and rent is due every day, dude. It's truly that way. You have to, move, train, strength train, do something that stresses your cardiovascular system. You have to eat clean. You have to continue to do it. And oh, by the way, you have to do it till you're dead. That's the game. And if you're not falling in love with what you're doing because you wake up at 5 a.m. and you're doing 30 minutes of a Peloton and you hate riding the Peloton, and then you go and you lift for 2 hours and you hate the lifts that you're doing, it's probably not something that you can maintain. It's probably not something that's going to get you there. I would be pretty demotivated if I never got to play sports and I never got to be in what I'll call, for lack of a better term, a flow state when I'm competing, and whether I'm playing lacrosse or basketball or soccer, ping pong, whatever it is. The reason that I train is so that I can do those things. I can play sports. I can get in and out of the cockpit as a Coast Guard pilot and be able to come back and fly. And I don't have lower back pain, and I've built a core that's strong and effective, and I don't have these nagging things that are critical and, I guess, like taking away from my life. My health and wellness is always something I want to add to my life. I want it to help augment so that I can continue to improve and succeed, whether that's in sport or just in health in general. And I really find that those are the people that end up finding the most amount of success lifetime. The reality is, the runners that I know that truly love running, they just kind of get lost in the process. And at the end of the day, you end up enjoying running and you get better at it because it's just something that you're doing and finding. So my last little piece of, I'll say wisdom, for lack of a better term, at the end of this 25-minute rant or 22-minute rant that kind of went off the rails a little bit in a bunch of different directions, is find something that you can enjoy and sustain for as long as humanly possible. If you're a rock climber, if you're a runner, if you're a mountain biker, if you're a paddle boarder, find that thing, find ways to do it, find ways to ingrain it into your life, ingrain it into your training. Have your training help those things. And if you're somebody who's like, dude, I don't know how I could have hiking like worked into my training program, give us a call, man. I promise you that we have a tool, whether it's sleep, stress, and recovery, nutrition-based, training-based, to help you in your performance, in your recovery, in your stress management, so that you can continue to wake up and look, move, and feel your best, whether you're a pilot, former athlete, or active duty military person. That is why we're here, to help that community that I feel like so connected to and that I belong with as well. So again, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. We will be demolitioning our house and hopefully have a new kitchen and another, big chunk of our house renos knocked out at the end of the next couple of weeks. So until next time, you don't stop playing because you get old. You get old because you stop playing. We'll see you guys. Peace.